Heading into the 2024 season, it was viewed as a make-or-break year for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. The Irish lost some key players from the 2023 team, but replaced them via the transfer portal or through in-house development. There were high expectations for the team, and those only got higher after they beat Texas A&M in College Station. But then the season almost got derailed as the Irish would be upset by NIU at home in Week 2. In previous years, this would have eliminated Notre Dame from the college football playoff contention. With the expanded playoff, it meant the Fighting Irish were still alive. They would proceed to dominate most of their opponents and were gifted with a home game for the first round of the college football playoff. This is how Marcus Freeman turned Notre Dame's season around from a disaster to a magical one. This is the Road to the College Football Playoff Notre Dame edition. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know your final score prediction for the Notre Dame-Indiana game in the comments section below. Heading into year 2 under Marcus Freeman, the Irish were coming off a season where, for the first time since 2016, they didn't win double-digit games. They lost offense coordinator Tommy Rees to Alabama and brought in Sam Hartman from Wake Forest to play quarterback. Hartman was viewed as an upgrade for both Drew Pyne and Tyler Buckner, and they would start the season 4-0 before a heartbreaking loss to Ohio State. They would also drop games to both Louisville and Clemson, but cruised in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl to finish the season 10-3 with ranked wins over Duke and USC. Heading into the 2024 season, it was viewed as a prove-it year for Freeman. The third season at Notre Dame historically for their coaches usually shows the direction of where the program is going. Frank Leahy, Ara Parsenian, and Lou Holtz all won national titles in their third year, while Brian Kelly and Elmer Layden had impressive third seasons. On the flip side, Bobby Davie, Tyrone Willingham, and Charlie Weiss all had impressive year 1s or year 2s or both before the floor fell under them and the program nosedived in year 3. Freeman entered the year with a 19-7 record through 2 seasons, and it would be finally viewed as his program as he got his first recruiting class stepping up to be key players. Freeman made great coaching hires heading into the season and was recruiting at a high level, so there were high expectations for the team that entered the season ranked in the top 10 in the preseason polls. He had the full backing by the athletic department and was beloved by the team, which was mainly the reason he got the job when Brian Kelly left for LSU. The administration allowed Freeman to bring in higher paid assistants, spending quote-unquote big boy money on the offense and defensive coordinators, and the school embraced NIL when some fans were worried they would not. The school also invested in new football facilities this past spring. Many hoped heading into the season Freeman would not only get Notre Dame into the college football playoff, would help change the narrative of how the Irish played in big games. They replaced Hartman with Duke quarterback transfer Riley Leonard, who was a key player in Mike Elko's transformation of Duke. Along with Hartman, the Irish lost running back Andrick Estime, as well as offensive lineman Blake Fisher and unanimous first-team All-American Joe Alt. While that looked tough to overcome, the Irish had developed a knack for developing offensive linemen, and there were players on the roster already to pick up the slack lost from Estime. The defense also looked extremely strong heading into the season with a great secondary and great defensive line. According to College Football News, their over-under win total was 10 heading into the season with a very manageable schedule. Notre Dame opened up the season on the road in College Station where they took on a top 25 ranked Texas A&M team who would be playing in their first game under head coach Mike Elko. The Aggies entered the game as 3-point favorites as starting quarterback Riley Leonard took on his former head coach. The game would be a defensive battle at first with both teams trading multiple field goals back and forth, going to half tied 6-6. Midway through the third quarter though, Notre Dame would find the end zone first as Jadarian Price would break off a 47-yard rushing touchdown to help the Irish take a 13-6 lead. The Notre Dame defense would shut down the Texas A&M offense throughout the third quarter before Le'Veon Moss tied the game on a 1-yard touchdown run with under 12 minutes left in the game. With just under 2 minutes left, Jeremiah Love would give the Fighting Irish the lead on a 21-yard score, and the defense would get a needed stop as the Irish iced the game with a field goal with 30 seconds left to walk away from College Station with a 23-13 win. This was a huge win for Notre Dame as they had a pretty manageable schedule the rest of the season, avoiding Miami, SMU, and Clemson. Their only real test on paper at this point would be Florida State, Louisville, and USC. All they had to do was win 2 of those 3 games, and they would basically be a lock for the playoff. But in Week 2, off a hangover from their big win over the Aggies, Notre Dame would be stunned at home by Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois shocked Notre Dame 16-14, recording its first win against an AP Top 5 opponent, and first such victory by a Mid-American Conference team. Notre Dame was added to the Boneyard victories as the Huskies outgained Notre Dame 388 yards to 286 yards and blocked 2 field goals. It was the second time under Marcus Freeman that Notre Dame lost a game to a Group of 5 team, with the other occurring in 2022 when they lost to Marshall. This was hit even harder though, as Notre Dame had entered the game as 28.5-point favorites. Heather Dinich wrote following the game, "If Notre Dame runs the table and is competing with other one-loss teams for a spot, the combination of a bad loss and a few wins against ranked opponents could exclude the Irish from the playoff. With the way Florida State was playing, that did not look like a major matchup anymore, nor did their game against Louisville. Their only major test was going to be against USC at the end of the year, or so everyone thought. The Irish would fall 13 spots in the AP poll, down to number 18th in the nation, due to the following results. People were calling for Leonard to be benched heading into the Purdue game due to his slow start to the 2024 season, and Leonard was dealing with a labrum injury as well. Leonard would play like he wasn't hurt, rushing for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns, while throwing for 112 yards in the Irish's 66-7 win over Purdue, with most of the starters sitting out the second half. Leonard would rush for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, while throwing for 154 yards and a touchdown in Notre Dame's 28-3 win over Miami of Ohio. Notre Dame would then host 15th ranked Louisville, where they would find themselves down early after fumbling the opening kickoff. The Irish would respond by closing out the first quarter with 21 unanswered points, went into half up 24-14. The offense struggled in the second half, but the defense helped them out, including a crucial 4th down stop to help the Irish secure an important 31-24 win. That would really only be the last time Notre Dame was really tested all season long. They cruised to a 49-7 win over Stanford and traveled to Atlanta, where they dismantled Georgia Tech in Mercedes-Benz Stadium 31-13. That set up a top 25 match against an undefeated Navy team who was impressing everyone throughout the season. I was personally hoping Navy would win this game, but deep down I knew Notre Dame would win the game. Navy entered the game averaging 275 yards per game on the ground, which was 4th best in the FBS, and quarterback Blake Horvath was one of the most efficient passers in college football. Notre Dame would enter the game as 13.5-point favorites, and they would cruise to a 51-14 win, where they outrushed the Midshipmen's 265 yards to 222 yards, and held Navy to only 88 passing yards, forcing multiple turnovers and miscues on Navy throughout the day, which was unlike them. They would enter their second bye week before hosting Florida State, dismantling the Seminoles 52-3, as Florida State was a disaster this year. They then beat Virginia 35-14 before a top 20 matchup against Army, who was fighting for the Group of 5 playoff spot. This would serve as basically a college football playoff elimination game, being played in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Notre Dame was expected to beat the 9-0 Black Knights in a blowout, and that they would as they cruised to a 49-14 win, ending Army's dream season. They then traveled to Southern California to take on USC. While the game would be 14-14 at half, Notre Dame would score 21 points in the third quarter to the Trojans 7, and sealed the game with a 99-yard pick 6 and a 100-yard pick 6 to win 49-35, and basically lock up a home playoff game for the first round of the college football playoff. While Riley Leonard did not have a crazy statistical season, throwing for 2,092 yards, 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, while rushing for 721 yards and 14 touchdowns to the ground, he did enough to help Notre Dame make the college football playoff. Love and Price were a great 1-2 combo, with Leonard in the running game, as Love rushed for 949 yards and 15 touchdowns on the ground, while Price rushed for 651 yards and 7 touchdowns, with both of them averaging 7 yards per carry. Notre Dame will host Indiana in the first round of the college football playoff on December 20th at 8 p.m. on ABC. They enter the game as 7.5-point favorites, and it will be their second matchup in 66 years, when Notre Dame beat the Hoosiers in South Bend in 1991, although the schools are less than 200 miles apart. Indiana has struggled against teams with strong defensive lines, and Notre Dame's unit is a top 5 unit in the country. College Football Network projects the Irish to win the game 27-14, and it should be a great game as I'm extremely excited to watch, and I can't wait for the first round matchups to start. What do you think? What is the final score of the Notre Dame-Indiana game? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.